Welcome to this video on how to set up your seating criteria in a predefined tournament. So we're going to start by going to your left menu and clicking on seating criteria. There are some other ways to get to this page, as many of you know. But basically, when you get to this page, you're going to see three default criteria that are always a part of a track wrestling predefined event. So, and these can't be deleted, but they can be edited to some degree. So, the first one is the number of matches towards a record. And basically, what this criteria is a minimum number of matches, and it's going to ensure that a record is valid before it goes ahead and considers the second criteria, which is winning percentage. You can make changes to this number, so it doesn't have to be 1. It's defaulted in at 1. I'll show you in a minute how to change that. This one match sometimes throws people off, but that's pretty easy to change. So again, if this is valid, if the record has the minimum number of matches, it's going to go to winning percentage. That's pretty self-explanatory. But then the record number of wins is going to break any ties. So in an instance where two records are, let's say, a 500 record, where you have a 5 and 5 and a 10 and 10, the record with the more number of wins, the greater number of wins, is going to receive that higher seed. So this is a tiebreaker here. So those are the basics. These can't be deleted. You can add others, but these will need to stay in some form. So in order to make the edits that I was referring to, if I click up here on tournament records, you'll see that it comes here, and this is the record name. If this doesn't make sense to you, you can edit that. So instead of record, maybe you want to put season record, and maybe that makes more sense to you. You can edit that. You don't have to. It's not a big deal, but you can do that. So season record, and here's where you can change the minimum number of matches. And I'm going to say for my tournament, I'm going to require 10 matches, and I can click back on tournament criteria, and then you'll see that now you need 10 matches towards a season record winning percentage, and then season record win. So to me that makes sense in my tournament, so I'm going to leave it like that. The other thing that you can do is add your own criteria, and there's two basic ways to do that. If I come back to tournament records, maybe another criteria that I'm going to consider in my seating is going to be the conference record. So if I click add record, I can call this conference. Oops, misfired there, sorry about that. So I'm going to call this conference record. Sorry for the error there. And then I'm going to say that we need, let's say, 3 matches in order for it to be considered for a seed. And so you'll see now I have conference record with 3 matches. You'll also notice there's a delete button here. Anything that you add on your own, you can also delete. You'll notice that there is not a delete button next to the season record because that can't be deleted. We've discussed that. So if I come back to my tournament criteria, we'll see now that my first 3 criteria are still the same, but now we have these 3 additional criteria that are going to be used. So let's say, for instance, that we had in that previous example, we had 2 wrestlers that were 10 and 10. So now we have 10 and 10. They have the same winning percentage, same number of wins, and so now my next criteria to break those ties to see who gets a higher seed, I'm going to go to the conference record. And if a wrestler has 3 or more matches, then we're going to go to the winning percentage and then the conference number of wins. So that's another way to go ahead and make changes, maybe be more specific in your seating criteria. So you can add another tournament record there. So that works for some people, but maybe you want to add just a simple criteria. I can do that by clicking on add criteria. And then I'm going to select, and there's some different ways, and you might want to kind of test these and play with these, and obviously on the testing site is the place to do that first. But I'm going to select from a predefined list, and this is where most people will go to add criteria. And I'm going to say, and you can see that there are all kinds of different selections here, but I'm going to say that I want to know how these guys did in the state tournament last year. And so you see that I can also select different years. I'm going to take what state place they were and whether or not they were a qualifier. So I put check marks next to those 2. I click next. And you'll be asked some questions on certain criteria. The lowest place, I'm going to say 6. So our state place is 6 in the state tournament. And so I want to go through 6. And then now if I go down to the bottom of this screen, you'll see that I have two more criteria added here. State place, which is also going to add this, so there's going to be a pick list when coaches go in to add the wrestlers, and it's going to show, alright, which one of these, what's the place in the state tournament last year. And I can cancel out of that, and then also whether they're a state qualifier or not. You can make changes to these in terms of how you want them. Let's say that my state place, I want that to be my number 1 criteria, so I can move that to number 1. And then if I go up and I save the criteria order, you'll see that now any state place winner is going to be seated ahead of all of this record information. Okay, so you can make moves on that however you choose to. And there are some things I would probably do differently in this one, but just for the sake of the demo, we'll leave it. The last point that we want to make in this video is this max seed jump. Basically what this is the number of seeds that a wrestler can jump based on the head-to-head information. So when you're going through and coaches are entering their information, they can also enter head-to-head once the rosters are in. You can say wrestler A beat wrestler B, and then our system will use that in the seeding. And basically, this setting right here is used to determine how far a person can move in the seed list based on the head-to-head win over someone else above them. And basically, here's how it works. If I set this seed, let's say, to 2, then any wrestler that has beaten a wrestler within 2 slots above him or her and has not lost to any wrestler below them will get moved ahead of the wrestler that they beat. So if they've not beaten a wrestler but lost to another wrestler below them, then they won't be moved. So basically this is the number of seeds you can jump based on the head-to-head. So in a situation like this, if the number 10 seed beat the number 1 seed, we have a max seed jump of 2, and so that wouldn't get automatically moved. You can always make those moves on your own, but the system will not do that. And if you wanted that, you could move this up to a large number. But typically, you're going to see things in there like 2, 3, 4, something like that. So if you have questions, feel free to call in or submit a ticket. But those are the basics of setting up your seeding criteria in a predefined tournament.